The car is packed. It's late. A college kid with long braids is driving from Athens to Atlanta. The stereo up high, the anticipation higher than the volume. He doesn't know it yet, but this feeling, the buildup, the momentum, the forward motion is going to follow him for the rest of his life. Today, he leads a company that's helped manufacturers generate nearly $2 billion in revenue. But that scene, riding through the dark with his friends, headed towards something electric and unknown, that's the real beginning. Hello, and welcome back to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Mayer. If you've been listening for a while, you know this show isn't about products. It's not about solutions or sales funnels. It's about the people who shaped this industry from the inside out. The choices they made, the risks they took, the culture that they've built, sometimes on purpose, sometimes by accident. Before we get into it, a quick reminder. The Lead the Change Tour is happening right now. If you believe leadership is more than just buzzwords, if you're ready to start reacting and start reshaping your culture, come join us. Every stop is different. Every city has its own story. Find the one that fits you at themfgconnector.com. And while you're there, check out our other shows. If you care about people and want a little leadership vitamin, listen to Work But Make It Human. If you want practical tools and real-world solutions, subscribe to the Manufacturing Connector over on YouTube. And make sure that you follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, where this community lives between episodes. Now, to our guest, Nelson Bruton. He grew up in South Georgia, discovered the internet through a computer and a cow print gateway box. Thought he'd be a programmer, but wasn't. He took a shot at sales, moved to Jacksonville for the beach, and somewhere along the way, built a career on one deceptively simple principle. People want to talk to people. This conversation isn't about the live chat tools, even though we do talk about it. It's about energy, the kind you give, the kind you get, and what happens when you build a company around both. Let's get into it. Nelson Bruton, welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. How are you doing today, my friend?
Outstanding. So happy to be here, Jim.
Super excited to have you here, man. I got the honor of meeting you in person in Austin at the Industrial Marketing Summit this past February. Nelson, you had a great stage presence. We both spoke, but I was taking notes from people. You have a great stage presence. You were part of a panel there. Talk to us about the panel, what it was about, and what your part in that was.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate the kind words. Likewise, you did amazing as well, Jim.
Thank you.
And what a great event. The Industrial Marketing Summit.
Awesome.
If you haven't been, make sure it's on your calendar for next year. It
Absolutely
grows, and the energy there is just, everybody's there to help each other. It's such a good event.
Yeah.
My panel, the topic was removing friction from the buying process. And I was kind of talking about the perspective of, conversational marketing, i.e. putting live chat on your website.
Yeah. And in our space, right, you can't go into a website anymore without a live chat being, popping up. And we see a lot of that in the B2C space, but we don't see a whole lot of that in the B2B space, especially the B2B manufacturing space outside of distribution, right? You see MSC has that pop-up, Grainger has a pop-up, Fastenal, all those distributors, they have pop-ups. But as machine shops, as fabricating shops, as assembly shops, we don't see a whole lot of those pop-ups. Just really quickly, really briefly, why is that so important for those B2B companies?
Because people have different communication preferences. And if you don't offer live chat, you're missing people who have that preference. And a stat that goes behind that, 7% of people who go to your website, if your website is doing amazing, 97% of people leave your website without taking any action.
Wow. That's a powerful
stat. That's if
stat.
you're doing a great job. That's a 3% conversion rate. And that's on the high end. So conversion rates typically on average are anywhere from 1 to 3%. So I'm just using the conservative estimate there. 97% of people leave your website. So if you offer another communication tool, you'll capture more opportunities.
All right. I like it. I like it. And we could almost just end the episode there, but I've got too many things that I want to ask you about your story, Nelson. We're going to start with the brand new icebreaker on the Manufacturing Culture podcast. That is, if your life were a movie to this point, what genre of movie would it be? Would it be a comedy, an action, drama, an indie flick? What kind of movie would it be?
That is a really good question. I like it. So I'm going to get a little vulnerable here. I grew up, my college days, I grew up during the rave scene, the rave days, like
All
late
right.
90s, early 2000s.
Yeah.
And so there, thank goodness there weren't mobile phones all over the place like there are today. I'll just say that. It would have been an indie action film, I guess,
Got it. Roger that.
drama. I mean,
Yeah.
I went to some really good parties, and there's a picture of me with I had longer hair with braids at one of the parties. So no, I will not share that. Do not put any requests out there. But what a juxtaposition to where I am today.
Absolutely. I want to hear everybody in the show. I want you to, on Apple, in your rating or your review of the show, Nelson, show us the hair. I want everybody who listens to this to get
How
on
many
board.
people do we need to request it before I actually do share it? That's the
Oh,
question.
that's a good question. 50? Is 50 a good number? 100?
Let's go 100.
100? All right.
100
All
requests.
right.
I'll share the picture.
So, quick follow up to that question, Nelson. What would the opening scene be?
Oh my gosh, the opening scene to the movie. Um, so let's say we made a movie about that particular era, right? I'd probably say the drive from Athens, Georgia to Atlanta
Okay.
with my
Okay.
friend, right?
Cool.
Because there was a I don't know what the word is, but there was a you could feel the anticipation because it was such a fun time, man. Going to these parties with your friends, and
Yeah.
I'm 45 now. That was back when I was 19, 20, 21. You could feel, you could sense the anticipation. All of us were just so looking forward to it because it was a great time. I mean, if
That's all.
you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And last on this, who would play you?
Who would play me? Gosh, I have no idea. I don't know. I don't know if I can answer that question. I really don't know. That's a tough one. Let's circle back to that at the end of the episode.
All right, all right.
All right.
We'll come back to that. My initial, just knowing you because we have met in person, my initial reaction was Jason Statham would tell the story of you, like the current you telling the story of then. Just similarity in visual there.
I'll take it.
But I don't. I'd have to think of who early Jason Statham would look like to
Yeah.
kind of picture Nelson as a young one. All right, so let's get into a little bit deeper questions here, man. I love asking all of my guests about this next question because culture is so individualistic. It's a personal thing. There's a definition for it, but it's individualistic in what it means, not what defines it, right? So
Mm-hmm.
when you hear the word culture, what does it mean to you?
Yeah. So, and the word I was looking for earlier was palpable, right? Palpable. The energy was palpable.
Got it.
So,
Yeah.
so along those lines, and really, as you asked this question, my brain was still there. So, a good answer for culture that I've probably never given or we've never discussed. It's the energy you get from your company and the energy you want to give back to your company on an individual level.
Dang. That's a good answer, man. All right, folks, that's been this episode of the Manufacturer. We've gotten so much already between why B2B companies. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to end it yet, but it's the energy. I like that, man, because energy, again, can mean so many different things to people, right? But what that energy means to you, I love that answer.
Yeah,
that's a great one.
Because if you're getting the right energy from your company, you're going to give the right energy back. And what does that mean practically, right? You're going to work harder. You're going to do that extra call. You're going to prepare more for the meeting. You're going to take more BS than you normally would because it's for the greater good, right?
Yes.
So
absolutely.
that all takes energy, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be charged up. So a charged up culture, I think reflects, getting the energy from the company, which will, in return, you'll give that energy back.
I dig it. Is there a company or a culture that you've admired, or on the other side, one that you knew just wasn't right?
Yeah, I mean, Here locally, one of my most long-standing customers, it's a company called VatCon in Green Cove
Okay.
Springs, Florida. They're a manufacturer of industrial vacuum trucks. They manufacture the sewer trucks with the big hose that hangs off the front.
Sure.
Also,
Yeah.
hydro excavation equipment for certain applications. Man, they've just built an amazing culture over the years they've been in business. They transitioned to an ESOP, an employee-owned company some years ago. But
Cool.
everybody that works there, when you walk in, they have a smile on their face. They're eager to help. They're eager to serve. From the IT to the receptionist to the sales guys, their culture, it has that palpable energy.
I dig it. Like it. I like it. So as we look now at your story, Nelson, what do people not expect about your story? Is there something that when people see you, when they first meet you, you can tell that they weren't expecting that, or they even say, I wasn't expecting that to be part of your story?
Gosh, another tough question. These are good. These are different than the run of the mill questions, so I like it. I would say I'm going to answer this a little contrarian. I think
Okay.
people get what they expect from me. I
Okay.
think I bring energy to the table. I mean, I'm direct. I'm to the point. You know what I mean. So there's not much surprise when you meet me, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I dig that. Well, but because, and we talk a lot on this show. I talk with guests a lot on this show about authenticity and removing of masks and things of that nature, right? And so I like that you just come as you are, and it takes a lot of vulnerability and emotional intelligence to get to the point where I'm not for everybody, but I'm just going to come as I am
Yeah,
every day. Some people are going to gravitate to me and some people aren't,
it's
right?
the reality of
Uh,
life, right?
Absolutely. So I really I dig the contrarianness of
Yeah,
that answer. Tell us about where you grew up, man. Where was it? What and I guess what shaped you and influenced your view of work and what success was in life?
absolutely. So I was born in Colorado. Did not live there long. Texas for a brief year or two, and then I grew up my majority of my life in South Georgia, a small town
Okay,
called Leesburg, Georgia, home of, I guess, Luke Bryan is probably the most recognizable name. Went to
got
my
it.
high school, so Leesburg, Georgia. Grew up in the South. Went to University of Georgia after that. But growing up, my dad owned a company, and so he was an entrepreneur, and I learned about his work ethic and also his level of expectation of life, his life
Mm,
expectation. He could have taken his company bigger, but I saw him, and we had conversations over the years as I got older to where I could take it bigger and do more, but I would sacrifice this. And so there's that. I learned balance in
sure.
entrepreneurship from my dad, and I learned work ethic. Right, you have to put it in every day. You have to be consistent. You have to have the discipline to deliver every day, even on days you don't want to. Right,
Yeah,
and so my dad's a huge role model for that for me.
I dig that. Is there a moment that you look back on from your early life and you think, yeah, that was the beginning of this, whatever this is for you?
Yeah, there actually is. And I'll tell another story too about my dad here in a minute. Looking back in high school, we had one of those computers that came in a big box that had the cow print on it, Gateway
Yeah.
computers. And this was the time with the AOL and Prodigy and CompuServe were sending out those CD discs with 25 free hours, right?
Yes.
Hooked on the internet. Absolutely couldn't. Was just fascinated and blown away that you put this disc in, surf the web, web crawler and all that, and Excite and all the old search engines. I was learning all the search engines and chat rooms and AOL Instant Messenger and You've Got Mail, right? All that stuff. Just that was a defining moment. I knew I had to be somehow involved with the internet
Yeah.
at that moment in time.
Awesome. Very cool, man. I love that. So we got to fast forward a little bit. You graduated with a degree, right, in
Hmm.
economics,
Yep.
and you moved to Jacksonville to live at the beach.
Yep.
And that to me sounds like a very specific decision, very intentional decision. What were you chasing in that moment, and how did it change what came next in your life?
So unfortunately, when I went to college initially with the whole internet fascination, I was going to be a computer science major, and took my first C++ programming class and realized I'm not a programmer. So I had to kind of make moves and switch, go to my counselor and adjust what I graduated with.
Yeah.
general business economics degree. It wasn't a direct path to a career. So, but I got my degree, and, I had, listened to Zig Ziglar here and there. And one of the things he taught was, sales, 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 and people in sales make the most money. So I knew I wanted to do sales. I had no idea what. So my decision was, I have friends in Jacksonville and I love the beach. So let's move there. Let's achieve my first goal out of college. So I did, right? Figure the rest out later. And so it was fun. It's been an adventure. And fortunately for me, and I believe God put me in the right place. Introduced me to the right people, and had a perfect little career trajectory. And early on, got connected to the founder of the company I work with now.
Got it.
And that was 22 years ago. So we've had a fun
Wow.
ride.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so that leads me to the next question. You found your way into your company early on in your career 22 years ago. Um, was there something about that role specifically? I mean, there has to have been, to make you stay for all this time. What is it about the company that has made you stay 22 years?
So as you're well aware, and everybody who's listening, the internet, the world we live in, it continues to change so rapidly, right? And so when I first came into that company, we were building websites. Very soon after, within months, we
Wow.
were doing SEO and paid search to drive traffic to the websites, and then email marketing. And so the evolution of internet marketing and digital marketing and marketing in general,
Yeah.
that's been just ongoing ever since then, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I was right at the start of it, but man, 22 years ago, that's when we were able to build and continuously evolve, and that was fun, right? Fun being the operative word and answer to your question. It's fun, right?
So what about that, early entrance into that B2B world made you think this is the way that businesses need to grow?
Because we were seeing results take place. We were helping businesses grow. We were making people happy. We were making them more money. So it was, good relationships and results on the back end. So, that's what it's have fun, help people. It's, from a culture standpoint, we had it and we still do. You know what I mean? Things have changed.
Right.
But that was fun. And yeah, it's, interestingly enough, we don't have to, but based on the move we made, 7 or 8 years ago, we don't have to adjust as much as we used to, as a lot of the other agencies still have to. Now we have to be aware of it, but we don't have to adjust as much anymore.
What happened 7, 8 years ago?
Yeah, so like I said, we doing websites, and we added on SEO, search engine marketing, ads, email. We built out our live chat infrastructure.
Got it.
Back then, 20 years ago. We offered a partner program, and then continue to do that suite of digital marketing services. About 7 or 8 years ago, video and social media became, content became absolutely a critical pieces of that digital marketing strategy. So our decision then was, do we do more and learn how to do more and add more team members and add more expertise, or we go the other way and niche down? So we decided, niche down. Let's focus on, who do we like working with the most? Industrial companies. And what service provides the quickest results and most continuous results? Our live chat solution.
That's
That's
awesome.
where the brand manufacturing chats comes from.
Awesome. I love it. I love it, man. So what is something like a leadership or something that you believed about success back in your 20s that you no longer believe today?
So I'll say this to that question. And it took me a long time, well into my 30s, to my late 30s, to realize this. Success, I had to learn I'm a high-strung individual, and
it goes back to the energy.
But you can't continuously operate high-strung. So I learned, just a few years ago, you have to learn how to, don't get too high, don't get too low, operate in a cool, calm, and collected manner always. And what does that mean, specifically with an example? If I got a call from a client and they wanted to cancel and they were really upset, it was the end of the world. Everything stopped. I had to call and find out what we were doing, what's happening, and it was a high emotion event.
Yeah.
And that I would transfer that energy to everybody else on my call. I'd call immediately, stop what they're doing, and then they would feel that energy, and it was just high emotion reaction. Whereas today, when things happen like that, process it, Everything, no, it'll pass whether they cancel or not, but you can't react. I don't react too emotionally to it. And so just find out what the details are, have cool, calm, collected conversations, do what you can. If you can salvage it, or, if it's a situation that needs to be fixed, figure out who needs to be involved. Let's fix it. So just take a much more cool, calm, collected approach for things like that. Right.
I love it. I love that, man. I had a boss early in my career who must have seen something similar like that out of me, because he, in one of my monthly stand-up meetings, said, I need to learn how to respond, not react.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I've had as a sticky note next to every computer that I've had for probably 15 years, maybe 20 years at this point. Respond versus react, right? And it's a powerful thing to be able to do once you do it well, once you learn how to take a step back and process, to your point, exactly what you need to process. There's a whole rule. It's called the 24-24 rule. So if something pisses you off, or there's something, I guess, that you feel you need to react to, wait 24 hours. If after 24 hours that thing still bugs you, you need to address it in the next 24 hours. So
Mm-hmm.
within 48 hours of you getting all riled up, you address the issue. But what it does is it allows logic to come into the
Absolutely.
into the equation. It still honors the emotion, but it allows logic to creep in. So
Yep.
not to hijack, this is your
No, you're spot
this
on.
is about you, but that I love that segue there. You guys have helped generate billions of dollars for your client. What's the story behind that number that really shaped you, Nelson Bruton? How has that pathway helped shape you?
It's just awesome to see the number continuously grow. I mean, our customers, they're highly technical in nature, and their average sale, it's substantial, right, for the
Yeah,
equipment and stuff that they're building, and then the projects they do. I mean, it's big. So, you know, we start adding those up, and the leads that we're generating, and the opportunities, and the closing rate, and the number I think right now, as of recent, is 1.9 billion in revenue we've generated for our customers, and it's because we go after customers that have a high average sale. And the reason we
okay,
do that is because it's really easy for us to show a return on investment with our
sure.
piddly little fee they have to pay us each month, right? Which means they're going to continue to stay with us long
Yeah.
term. And we have a 94% retention rate. People who come and start with us, they don't leave because they're making a whole lot more money month in, month out, year in, year out than they're paying us.
Wow. That's wild, dude. Not 94% retention
Mm-hmm.
rate? That's I don't know many companies that can say that, man. That's pretty
Yeah,
wild.
we're fortunate. We're not a perfect company, but we try really hard.
I love that. Nelson, one of the things that drew me to you and made us, closer than just an acquaintance, is the way that you build relationships. And it seems like you've built your entire career around relationships. So what is your approach to building trust and connection in a space that loves that in person, but people are sometimes more leery of each other? What's the secret to your success there?
I mean, just being authentic, I think, is the first step, right? Because people can sense inauthenticity. People
Okay.
can sense inauthenticity,
Yeah.
right?
I meant what you
The
knew.
big radars go off. So just be yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then find out what are you working on? What are you trying to do? What's top of your mind? What are you working on? What's most important to you in your life right now? And I don't ask that question directly, but
Sure.
trying to find out who they are and what drives them. That's typically where I try to start. And then if I can help them connect with somebody that would help them achieve what they're working on, that's one of my favorite things. I am absolutely a connector when it comes
Yeah.
to meeting new people.
I love that. I love that, man. In all the people that you've come across, is there somebody who saw something in you before you did, or before you knew that it existed?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. The CEO of our company,
Okay.
who hired me back in the day when I had long surfer hair. You know,
Man, I really have to see a photo of this. I really I'm feeling like I'm being robbed by not having this visual. So how did that CEO and what's the CEO's name?
Chris Patterson.
Chris Patterson. So what did Chris help you achieve in yourself throughout your journey there?
He continued to teach me the power of perseverance and, self-investment, right?
Okay.
You can get 1% better every single day, right?
Okay.
You can do that. So focus on, and you know what's going to make you better. Read
Yep.
books, study your practice. Take the time to invest in yourself. Don't just wing it, right? Because I was
Yep.
a big person who and I could get by just winging it. But taking that extra step to prepare,
Sure.
right? Those types of things. And what's cool now is, and he was really good at that, right? Pouring into other people, being a mentor. He does that pretty much 97% of the time now. He has his own coaching practice to work with high net worth and executives on
Yeah.
coaching. So basically, me and one of our other partners run the business day to day, so he can go pursue his true passion. Because he's 10 years older than me,
Got
so
it.
he gets to move. He's moving on to that mature part of his life. So he's pursuing his passions, which really is the coaching and the mentoring
I love it.
side of things. Because
I
he
love
was
that.
personally mentored by Zig Ziglar
Oh,
and
he
Bob Proctor.
was.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
really cool
That's
story.
pretty cool.
If you ever get to talk to Chris, maybe have him on your podcast one day.
I'd love to.
He's got a great story about how he was mentored personally for an entire year in Texas by Zig Ziglar, and he was actually
Wow.
Zig Ziglar's personal trainer for a year.
Really?
Yeah, really cool story behind that.
Oh, yeah. If you'd make that intro, that would be
Yeah.
cool, man. I would love to have that conversation. It's wild. We're recording this, May 2nd. I am, as of yesterday, Nelson, I'm booked with recordings through the end of this year,
That
which
is
is
amazing. Good for you,
wild to
Jim.
me.
That's awesome.
Dude, I don't know what's going on. It's wild. So
Yep.
anybody who's listening to this right now, thank you, because you're the reason that these people want to keep coming on this show. So thank you for listening. Thank you to previous guests. Thank you to Nelson. Nelson, tell us about manufacturing chats. What do you see in this community that others may have overlooked historically?
So live chat's not a new thing. It's been around for a long time, and there's hundreds of live chat software options out there, and they're all good, right? They're all pretty much the same, right? Give or take. Our value proposition is, we answer the question, well, who's going to staff it, right?
Got it.
In this space, AI and chatbots, the industrial space is a relationship driven community, right?
Yeah.
People buy from people. So chatbots, they work, but they don't work near as well as having humans on there. So we provide the chat solution, chat software, copy paste one line of code, but we also provide the people behind the chat, 24/7, real humans that respond within seconds. So that's kind of our claim to fame, what makes us different in the marketplace.
I like it. I like it. Nelson, if I told you you're good, you can stop now, you can coast, what would your response be?
What do you mean? Like
Like,
200 million in the bank and I don't have to do anything else? Is that the question?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking more along the lines of what do you have that you feel is unfinished, either for you or for the company or the people that you serve, the community you serve?
I would say, continuing to build this brand. I mean, manufacturers, industrial, they need to know we exist. So my mission is to let as many people know that we exist because we can truly bring value. We truly do help companies grow revenues.
Yeah.
So people need to know about us. So building the brand, building a company, our team, we love what we do. We love working together. We have a great culture and we're all excited to come to work and excited to hop on calls and build this thing. So we're building a company still. So it's fun. It's not finished.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
So do you guys, I mean, it's manufacturing chats. Do you serve other skilled trades as well? Other industrial, like construction companies, HVAC, plumbing, blah, 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 the skilled trades in general? Or did you niche down when you niche down to manufacturing specific?
So what's funny is we niche down on the service we provide to chat, right?
Got it.
Live chat. Now we still do all the other stuff. We just don't aggressively go after it, right?
Right.
If somebody needs it that we talk to, we'll help them with, search engine marketing or websites or stuff. But we don't even chase that anymore. And quite frankly, we don't even want to do the websites. Whole nother story. But yes, any company really So let me say this first. Niching down in manufacturing, we have pump manufacturers, we have boiler manufacturers, we have scaffolding manufacturers, we have polymer bearing manufacturers. So
Sure.
those are all different niches, and that's what I love working in the industrial spaces, because there's so many different things that have to get made to make this world turn, right?
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
so robotics and automation, I mean, across the board in manufacturing. So there is no niching down in manufacturing if
Yeah.
you really look at it, right? So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it is, as you talk about the different services, we focus in on what works and deliver that and deliver it with excellence as much as possible.
I love it. I love it. And you touched on something that I've talked with a few guests about is how extremely vast the manufacturing world is. I mean, some people think of it as robotics and, automation, and that's because they're in that world, right? We'll be at Automate in a couple weeks. Some people look at it through the metal, the fabrication, the cutting tools side, right?
Yep.
Some people look at it through the assembly lens, food and beverage, textiles. I mean, there are so many different verticals within manufacturing that it's pretty cool to me to see the diversity in skill set, the diversity in products that you get from this.
Yep. And on that, if I could interject real quick on
Yeah,
that point,
please.
I don't want to interrupt your thought process, but that's something else that keeps driving me. I haven't even been to all the shows. Like, I haven't been to Automate before. Right?
Oh, really?
I've heard it's amazing. So I'm
Dude,
super
it's a
pumped.
lot of fun.
There's textiles and materials shows that I haven't been to.
Yeah.
So there's food and beverage equipment shows I haven't been to, and all of them are just so eye opening and mind blowing about the intricacies of the industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
that
drives me too.
You would need like a private jet and an unlimited credit card to be able to make it to every single show that occurs in this industry every year, right? I mean, just even the week of Automate, East Tech is happening the same week in Springfield, Mass. So there are people who are literally going from Detroit to Massachusetts to Springfield.
Yeah.
And then home. And their entire week is just 2 shows, man.
And then they got
it's
something the
wild.
next week somewhere,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is so much. But I will say last year was my first Automate, and it's a uniquely cool show.
Cool.
It's very niche down, right? You can see a lot of the same technology at the IMTSs, at the Fab Techs, at the East Tech, at the West Tech, South Tech, etc. But this one is so dedicated and so focused on automation and robotics. Man, there's this robot there, Neuro Robots, last year that I'm trying to get to be a guest on the podcast. I want to interview this thing so badly because it can communicate with humans, right? So that's my goal for 2025 is to interview a humanoid robot on the show.
A good goal.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
Making it. I'm going, man. I'm going. Yeah. I've got so many goals this year. I overshot with the number of goals, but that's okay. That's a whole different conversation we can have. Nelson, what haven't I asked you that you want to share, or what is one thing that? No, I'll ask this in 2 different questions. Let me start that over. What haven't I asked you that you wish that I had?
Okay. So there's 2 things, actually. One, let's piggyback off the AI topic we were just talking about, the humanoid robot. So how does AI parlay into this whole live chat thing? Because live chat has AI solutions, and AI is getting better and better and better. It's amazing. We love AI. Yeah. Our data tells us that we produce 50 to 70% more conversations using our human chat team versus AI. So generally speaking, humans perform better in the more complex environment when you have any number of questions.
Interesting.
Right? So that's the data speaks for itself. AI can be quick, but at the end of the day, most of the chatbots are going to be an interactive FAQ.
Got it.
From a visitor experience perspective, it's an interactive FAQ.
Sure.
Okay? And it's only going to be as good an FAQ as your data is on the back end to program that language model.
Mm-hmm.
chat. So, I always ask when I go to shows and when people want to deal with humans. And when they call in on a phone number, they don't want to talk to a phone tree. They want to talk to a human.
Yep.
Same thing with chat. They want to experience that human. The human experience drives business in the industrial space. Relationships drive the business. That's why you don't have most trade show booths don't have humanoid robots in their booth, right? Or kiosks.
Yeah.
Because that human experience drives business.
Yep.
And one of the things I like to say is, think of your website as a trade show booth. In your booth, you have thousands of people that pass by up and down the aisles, day in, day out. And you have people in your booth to have conversations, and those conversations, a lot of them will turn into opportunities that get sent to the distributors or the distributor reps for new sales. Think of the website the same way. You have, and we work with anybody, to your question earlier, who gets at least 3,500 visitors a month. That's really our only criteria. If you get 3,500 people a month to your website, you should offer chat as a communication option, because a lot of the people that go to your website prefer chat.
Got it.
You offer. All right. And so if you had a trade show booth and your people weren't there, you'd get a lot less opportunity from that trade show.
Mm-hmm.
Same things happen on your website. You're missing opportunities without offering chat as a communication option. Now, the other thing that I'll answer that question that we haven't talked about yet is a common misperception that I get all the time, because the question I get is, well, how do we train your team, Nelson, to answer all of these technical questions that are going to get asked in our business? We're a very technical business. We have a huge array of product lines, all that. How do we train your team? It takes us 6 months to a year to train a new salesperson when they come in.
Right.
The answer is you don't. It's counterintuitive, but the chat team's role, whether you're staffing it yourself with your people, by the way, if you're already staffing your chat with yourself, your team's role, or if you're using us and having our team staff it, it's not to answer every question and you don't want to do the sales process during a chat.
Sure.
That makes sense. Get enough information to get it to the next step in the process, which is a Zoom or a Teams or an in-person meeting with the true expert that can answer the technical questions and do the normal sales process.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing that people need to realize. And in fact, at the Industrial Marketing Summit, I was sitting at a table with an automation integrator of a big, big company. And for her particular business, she was the chat person. She was like, I can never get people to give me their contact information. I answer all their questions, but they leave before they give their contact information. Well, it's because you answered all their questions. You know what I mean? So it's counterintuitive, but it's a huge thing we've learned. Again, 2 decades of doing this, you learn something.
Absolutely.
Use the chat experience as a step in your sales process. Top of funnel, get their name, number, email, what they're interested in, top level stuff, and then say, all right, let's have an expert get in touch with you for the next step.
Got it. So not answering directly those questions that pop up in the chat, grabbing contact information and pushing a human interaction.
Yeah,
a live.
If a question is common, you know what I mean, that can be built into the script. But getting too nitty gritty on a chat is not what you want to do. You wouldn't want, when somebody calls in and talks to your receptionist getting into that nitty gritty conversation.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So think of it that way. It's an online receptionist on your website. Get enough information so that we know where to pass the chat to have the right person follow up and set up a Teams or a Zoom or an in-person demo.
Dude, that's amazingly simple, but makes all the sense in the world. So in order to work with you guys, basically just need 100 visitors a day, every day for a month.
Yeah. That's enough.
A little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We have a pretty cool offer out there right now. We're telling people we will double your sales inquiries or you don't pay us.
I'm going to go look on my website and see if I have 100 a day average. Yep. But that's a pretty cool stat, man, or a pretty cool offer. Yep. All right, Nelson, man, this has been an awesome conversation. I've really enjoyed chatting with you today. Man, I appreciate your authenticity. I appreciate you showing up in your skin and being you and unapologetically you every day. So thanks for being here, man.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
There's a moment Nelson described about midway through the first question and then still sitting with me. It's the idea that culture gives you energy, or takes it for that matter. That you can walk into a room and feel the charge or the drain without anyone saying a word. We see that all the time in the shops that we go into. Are the people on the floor interacting with guests, or are they focused on their work or looking at their shoes? Nelson didn't use massive buzzwords or any leadership theory. He told the truth in an unapologetic and authentic way. That in 2 decades of work, the companies that win are the ones that remember they're made of people. And the ones that forget that fact, they fade. So maybe that's the question to carry with you after this episode. Not what tools you're using, not how many leads you're closing, but simply what kind of energy are you giving people? Nelson, again, thank you for showing up with your authentic energy. If this conversation stirred something in you folks, come be part of what we're building. You'll find everything else that we're doing over at themfgconnector.com. You can also find us on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, or you can listen to our other shows, Work But Make It Human, for that messy beauty of leadership, and the Manufacturing Connector over on YouTube for the people who still believe in solving real problems with technology and tools, etc. If you've taken something from this episode, please, please, please pass it along. Share it with a friend, a colleague, your grandma. It's not for us, it's for the next person that needs to hear it. Because every time you share, every time you rate and review the show, it rockets us up the charts so that more people can find it. So until next time, thanks for listening. And remember, you're making more than products, whether you know it or not. Have a great day.